Hello guys, I wanted to talk with you today about Obama, Barack Obama, and his recent involvement with Netflix. And so he has a new series, a mini series that came out on Netflix called Our Great National Parks. So Obama has a documentary series, and it's it's a nature documentary, so it's all footage of nature, of course. And so if there's 5 videos, there's 5 episodes available on Netflix. I don't know if they intend on making more. You never really know with Netflix, but there's 5 of them. And so he starts by talking about Hawaii and his which is showing where he grew up, and talking about the beach quite a bit. So, but it seems like this is going to be covering areas all over the world, nature and parks all over the world. So, but it's called Our Great National Parks, which is strange because why would you do documentaries on parks the series is called Our Great National Parks, and yet they're deliberately choosing to document areas outside of our national parks. So I already don't understand the naming, because the premise of the show, because the series is called Our Great National Parks, but most of it is shots and footage and documentary about areas that are not even in the United States, yet alone part of a national park, as in the United States national parks. Founded by Teddy Roosevelt, of course, and yet no mention of Teddy Roosevelt, at least not in the first episode. So they didn't even bother. So it's named. So anyway, I'm getting off track, but the footage is good. I mean, and it's hard to screw up a nature documentary. You film everything on God's green earth and get a decent narrator, and they got a decent narrator. And so what does it mean to see this? I mean, and given the Obamas, their history, they, with Netflix at least, they did. There's all of Netflix's coverage of the Obamas is good, and that's the problem. I mean, okay, so Michelle Obama has an entire movie about her life and her life story on Netflix. There's stuff. There's that David Letterman interview with Obama. I'm pretty sure that took place on Netflix, and now there's this. So Obama has a very cozy relationship with Netflix, which is today still the most popular streaming platform, as much as Disney and Amazon and Apple and HBO and frankly just a ridiculous amount of streaming services out there. Much to their dismay, Netflix is still on top. And most people, culturally speaking, when it comes to streaming movies, streaming TV, Netflix owns. I mean, Netflix and Chill is a great example of Netflix owning the streaming culture, because they started it. I mean, back in 2000, it wasn't that long ago, really. I mean, think about it. 5 years ago, there was almost every series. Really, it's only been in the last 5 years that Netflix has been losing its influence, because there was a time not that long ago, just a few years ago, where everything was on Netflix. Just damn near everything. Every major series pretty much was on Netflix. It was a monopoly at that point, before the real monopolies came in and wanted their piece of the cut as far as video platforming, streaming. So Obama's doing this, and meanwhile Netflix will do little to nothing to. I mean, when you look at Obama, when you search Obama on Netflix, you're going to find only good things, only things that express him in a positive light, that gives the Obamas a voice. And then there's the subtlety behind it. I mean, because Obama speaks, when you hear that voice, and when you hear Obama's voice, and you give Obama that platform, if you allow him to speak in this manner, no matter how innocuous the conversation, even a good conversation, because Obama is talking about the environment and its importance, and any nature documentary is pretty much has to be pro-environmental I mean, like, how can you have a nature documentary that isn't pro-environmentalism? So he is, and he expresses that in Netflix. Although one must ask, did he do nearly enough to help the climate as president? Because he was president for 2 whole terms, 8 years, and the main thing I remember him doing, besides continuing the Saudi oil relationship and the OPEC relationship we have to this day, which is a nightmare. The fact that, despite the fact that still exists, and he didn't do anything to stop it, of course, he opened up fracking. I mean, sure, oil prices plummeted during Obama's presidency, and they've only been going up since. However, and it's clear that fracking is part of that. I mean, under Obama's term, we have expanded our energy independence, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, I'm iffy on fracking because I'm pro-environmentalism. I mean, I'm an environmentalist, but I also am very, very anti-OPEC, anti-Saudi Arabia. So if we have to frack a little bit in order to reduce our dependence on the Middle East, that's tolerable. I can live with that as long as doing one equals the other. But but you can't argue that fracking is pro-environmental, and that anybody who's pro-fracking is pretty much your environmentalism is compromised. I'm not saying you can't be an environmentalist if you're pro fracking, because I'm kind of pro fracking, and yet I consider myself an environmentalist. So I think you can do both, but your environmentalism is compromised when you can't explain away that fracking is gotta be. Fracking is obviously terrible for the planet. It's terrible for our environment in America, and the world would be a better place if fracking didn't exist. But our dependence on OPEC and Saudi Arabia is so unhealthy that I'm willing to let it slide in order to alleviate that dependence if we can. It's worth a try, and we have been doing that. But I guess what I'm saying is, has Obama behaved as an environmentalist as a president? And the answer is no. I mean, he has made progress. I mean, don't get me wrong. He was maybe the most environmentalist president since Jimmy Carter, but he didn't do what Jimmy Carter did. Jimmy Carter really stuck his neck out, not in the way that Obama ever did.